introduction, I didn't wear any makeup to my wedding. So, no makeup, but that's because I never wear makeup. And all my bridesmaids were like, well, you have to at least put on some lipstick or some of this. And I'm like, no, I end up wiping it off. I'm not, a very big makeup person. And I think back to where this came from. As a kid, I would wear black tennis shoes instead of white ones, or I had some, gender stereotype nonconformity, but for the most part, I didn't conform to many norms. And I even think deeper that I was obsessed with Dawson's Creek in the 5th grade, and Joey didn't wear makeup, so maybe it was okay for me not to. So mass media provide opportunities for youth to create these ideas of what sociocultural norms are. And even though I was not conforming to a gender norm, I actually was. I was conforming to one that society said was okay, depending on the look that I was going for. And that's the issue, is that each one of us has our own idea of what inappropriate and appropriate sociocultural norms are. And a lot of that has to do with the schema that is reinforced through media. And right now, especially with the internet, that schema that is created, we have so many outlets, especially for youth, to be able to express themselves, express who they are, and identity formation is a big part of it, because they generally say the ages of 13 to 19, that's Erickson 1968 came up with, are the major identity formation years. And that's when youth are really influenced by media, and in our culture, you can't censor it anymore. We can't even look at censorship as a major way of teaching media, because it's everywhere. I mean, how many people have cell phones by the age of 10, 11, 12? How much internet browsing is there? I know I can pull up any movie that's in the theaters right now and show it, for this entire room illegally, and I'm sure that they can do way more than that. So we have to look at media literacy education, and we do have to change our media literacy education. We always have to look at a constructionist viewpoint. I've just looked at a lot of different major providers of media literacy education. One of them is New Mexico's Media Literacy Project is a big one. Common Sense Media out of San Francisco. And they all have some great aspects and some things that could be changed. This study was much longer, so I have to cut it down, but I was looking at the language of persuasion, which they use towards advertising, and I applied it to film. And you can apply it to all different types of media. I don't know why it was only applied to advertising on their website, because all of us could see a message. I can show you, a photo from a film, and it'll mean something different to each and every one of us, and we can't pretend that it'll mean the same thing to everyone. There is no hypodermic needle media effects anymore, because we all have different backgrounds that we bring to each of our experiences. So to change media literacy, we have to always promote critical thinking. We can't just censor images. And we have to use a combination of interactive and non-interactive media. So I looked at 4 films over the last 30 years and looked at how they're leading up to where we are now with a lot more expression. I mean, we can have Miley Cyrus, and we're not really that shocked anymore. We're almost numb to it, and at the same time, youth kind of are too. So we could say, like, wow, this is really influencing youth. But a lot of things are influencing youth. So how do we approach that? I have here the theoretical foundation is actually a newer model, which is an amalgamation of theories. It's called the Adolescent Identity, Media, and Socio-Cognitive Schema Model. And it's really important to look at some of these newer theories that are coming out, even critically, because some of the older theories don't take into account how much interactive media, the internet, video games, youth being able to participate in. We just had a commercial that was really debated from the Super Bowl. It's not just one way. We can interact back with Coca-Cola, we can interact with people who are talking about the commercial, and that affects the way that youth perceive, do they choose a side, do they not choose a side, why are they choosing, why are they not choosing? We have to look at how media influence identity formation, and that we have to examine identity formation is changing every day. Something that Lloyd talks a lot about is this idea of practicing. When you use interactive or non-interactive media is a practice arena for, maybe this week I will wear pink, and maybe I'll decide that I want to be into pink and start buying pink clothes, but I can change that at any time. We have this idea that you can be anyone you want, and you can change that, especially online with online profiles. You can be 10 people at once. So, and youth know that. And looking at the films, so starting out, just looking back at Fast Times at Ridgemont High, one of the only films that shows abortion, even in a realistic way, from 1983, a couple of years ago, Perks of Being a Wallflower came out, and they wouldn't give it a PG-13 rating if it had an abortion in it. And it's something that's not shown in media. I have Timothy Sherry is a really great film scholar for teen media, and he gave me a list starting back, for every film with teens that's been released. And I would really like to do a study to see how many portrayals of abortion that are realistic. I think one of you guys would probably know better. It's 23% or 32% of all teen pregnancies end in abortion, and we don't see that. So looking at the cause, the correlation, effect, persuasion, the media is telling us that it's not happening. That's changing the way that we view abortion, especially the way youth view it. Now, you can't really talk about that in a classroom because it's controversial. So you can talk about the way that teen pregnancy is framed. How do we frame it for all of us? And even in this film, you really have a lot of the virgin-whore dichotomy. No matter what, Stacy's actions are always going to be defined by her ability or inability to be sexual. Even at the end, that's how she is defined as a character. And it doesn't pass the Bechdel test, like they don't have a single conversation in it that isn't about boys. But the thing is, if you look at any of these films, you can see positive aspects, you can see negative aspects, and the point is young people have to be able to say, oh, I can see that, I understand that. That's a critical thinking skill that really helps them, look at all of the messages. The next film I looked at was Clueless, and we were looking at these popular films that really made an impact on society. I really like the phrase trendy, me first, commodity feminism. Sorry, I have to find who it's from. I'll find it later, I'm sorry. But the way that we change these messages over time is extremely important. With Clueless, everything is solved by consumerism. I have here that shares inner dialogue really influences the Stranger-Adair and Strojan study that young girls only care about boys, looks, popularity, and weight. She's counting calories, and it's meant to be ironic. There's a lot in this movie that's meant to be ironic. Even the song "I Want to Be a Supermodel" is, I didn't eat yesterday, I'm not going to eat today, I want to be a supermodel. But it's supposed to be ironic. If you look at the singer, it's meant to be that way, but it's interpreted in all different ways by youth, especially when TV shows about models are on TV every day. This is from Wildfox. They came out with a clothing line based off of Clueless this past year. So we're still using these types of, the website is really interesting that shows all of their photo shoots. We're still using this as an ideal of what we should aspire to be. And so this shows how non-interactive media now are linked with interactive media. So if you look at Pinterest, which a lot of people, especially young girls, are using, you can look up share, fashion, a shirt comes up, the actual shirt has nothing to do with share, but you become interested in it. You go to Free People's website, and the major impact is that now young people can upload photos of themselves wearing these clothes, which actually make people like me want to buy it more, because I say, oh wow, I see how that looks on this type of body, or oh, that might actually fit me. And you can do this right now in this room. Within the next 10 minutes, already be shipping an item to yourself, and it makes linking an idea with an action a lot easier because of interactive media. So, the next is Mean Girls. High school social structures. Again, a lot of it is meant to be a parody. Some of it doesn't come across that way. And actually, the writer of this and the writer of Heathers and the director of this are brothers, and they came out with a new movie that came out today, Vampire Academy, I believe. And they really take people and pigeonhole them like all teen films. This is actually called an anthropology shot, where you take the desperate wannabes. This is people who don't fit into size 3, 5, I think it was 1 through 5, they say, or girls who eat their feelings, girls who don't eat anything, unfriendly black hotties. Just these roles, how do we move past this? Especially even if we're joking about it, how do we move past these pigeonholed roles? The association effect is Jervis 2003. Do you want to know how I identify or how others will label me? This really lies in the importance of youth. How do I identify? How will others label me? How can I create that to be positive? And an issue is that young people think other people are as admiring or as critical as they are. So if you guys were judging me on my public speaking, I would think like, oh, you're doing this and you're doing that, so I would, perceive this room when really tomorrow you might not even remember this presentation. One way you can add in is by using film and then using interactive media such as the Beauty Redefined campaign or the Dove campaign and saying, well, is the Dove campaign good? Is it bad? Letting kids decide. Dove markets beauty products and they also have a campaign. A lot of young people really, I don't know, do you guys think it's positive? Do you think it's negative? I've heard it both ways. But it's something that you can talk about, especially because Ames model supports the merging of interactive and non-interactive media, which encourages students to seek out ways to find a healthy self-image. And a lot of this deals with finding your authentic self, whatever we define that as. What do you want your authentic self to be? And that's what identity formation is finding that. And the last film is Spring Breakers, which I think is really important to talk about because a lot of us have major views on this film of it's really feminist, it's really anti-feminist. So Common Sense Media says that you can't, sorry, I'm getting winded, I should have my tea. Common Sense Media says that this film is not for kids, but it's marketed towards kids. There's actually an ad at the very last page that it was on my Facebook page, and it said, see the movie your parents don't want you to, click here to buy tickets, and you go to Fandango. So it's marketed to young people. And one thing is, it's not just parasocial relationships anymore, there's also parasocial friendships. You're bonding with these girls so much that that could be your group of friends going to prom, and that could be your friends on spring break. Ashley Benson wore a bra to her audition to help her get the role, and she posted the photos online like, look, my audition. Felicity Jones just did that for Like Crazy. She's like, well, I filmed myself in the shower because I felt like that was the best scene. And it's one of those things that young people, they not only model this behavior, this exact behavior, but it comes to the point where you can play a game, which is celebrity versus real person. Because it's not just celebrities who have a persona, it's people now online who, is it your persona? Is it who you really are? How do you decide that? I have 100 pictures saved that I just see, which I have no idea if this girl, who I know is a fan of Ashley Benson, but the similarities are too striking to ignore. Finally, here is an exercise looking at the film through the male gaze. We have Innocence and Sexuality. Read this with he instead of she, so this is how the script is written. With media literacy education, you can look at things like the script. You can look at things like a Facebook page if you can't show a whole film in class. So he has a stunning face. He is wearing no makeup and a crucifix necklace. He looks extremely innocent and doe-eyed. His pecs are large and he's wearing a pink sweater. He takes a sip from a box of chocolate milk. It's the way that people are described, even in film scripts, that make us see them in a certain way. That's the image that's sold to Hollywood for a film to even be made. I have a short, muscle-bound teenage boy with a mustache is standing on a toilet. He's wearing only a jockstrap and pouring beer down a tube that goes directly through a funnel into Dottie's throat. She is gulping hard. The teenage boy is completely turned on by her ability. The whole film does have this power dynamic that we can look at as feminist or anti-feminist, but just even reading this script is problematic. I really like looking at the photo shoots too. I found this culture, quote, our media-saturated culture promote the pinup view of femininity. Women are visible when they display their bodies for public consumption, so young girls are disciplined and primed from youth to have pinup-ready bodies. And exploitation is not women's agency, it's women's subordination, and in this case, it's girls who are being sold. This photo says own us, and it's on their Facebook page, and all the comments, you read them, and it's like, I wish, or it's not how it's made, it's not the message the movie has, it's how it's being interpreted, and how we can just look at it in a media literacy fashion and talk about it. So I say that more pluralistic representations need to be made. Something to point out in Mean Girls is, at the end of the film, they're all like braiding each other's hair, and they're all best friends because Caddy broke up the crowd and gave a voice to the voiceless. But she really didn't, because there aren't even films made about the voiceless, about the desperate wannabes. Let me see here. Pariah. So the movie Pariah came out. I live in Michigan. That movie didn't come out. I mean, I had to wait maybe a year and a half if I wanted to see that film. So, yeah. That's pretty much it. It's just about changing the way that young people view media